Thanks, Alex. Welcome to the Intro to Women's Leagues webinar. As Alex has said, I'm not alone. I've got some helpful people alongside me today. So I'm just going to do a really quick intro. I'm going to show some slides as a bit of an intro. Then I'm going to take the slides down and we're just going to have a chat with the people on the panel. So without further ado, I will introduce them. First of all, I'm Claire Antcliffe. I'm the Women and Girls Competitions Activator for the Midlands. And I'm joined by my colleague Kirsten, who is the Women and Girls Competitions Activator for the Southwest, and also quite heavily involved in the Inner Warrior series herself as a coach. So it's great to have her insight. She's going to be monitoring the chat for me and possibly throwing in some questions. I know she hates this, but it's tough. I've got the wonderful Sabrina McGill, better known as women's competitions at rfu.com. So if you've got any questions, any queries, this is the wonderful face behind all of that knowledge, and there is a human being behind there. So please be nice when you're emailing through with queries and questions. Sabrina is going to be really helping around sort of admin and rules and regulations to support people who are thinking about going into the women's league structure next season. And it's really good to have that kind of option to ask those questions now about what do we do if and how can we. So please be popping those in the chat, and I'll be inviting Kirsten to share. And very importantly, I've got two volunteers who are connected with clubs who have gone from the Inner Warrior series, and if you don't know about that, I'll talk a little bit about that later, into the leagues last season. So they can give you a real flavour from a club and a volunteer and a player point of view about what that step up is. So I'm just going to go and ask Tina from Paviers, if you could just come off mute, give us a little bit of a history of Paviers, when you started, how many seasons, and when you decided to, what was your journey up to going into the leagues last year?
Hi, I'm Tina. I'm team captain, team manager of Paviers Pumas. We started this is our second season. Paviers had never had a ladies first team, so we actually established the very first ladies team. We started off in Inner Warriors with a very, very new team with ladies that had never really played before. Myself, I'm 47. I only started when we started the Paviers team. Never played rugby in my life. My son plays for Paviers, and that's what brought me to the club. We've had a lot over the Inner Warriors series as we were coming to this time of the year last year. We had a lot of players that have had children and played when they were younger, and they've actually come and started to play for us. So as we started in NC3 in September, we found it was the right step for us. It was the right next step for us. And the season's been going really well at the moment. We're all really enjoying it. And I think having, like you say, of Sabrina, yourself, and the people there to talk to, because I know I've asked Sabrina so many daft questions through email, and you get the support and everything that you want. So yeah, that's it for Paviers.
Great. Thanks ever so much, Tina. And then I'll go to Fiona from Newcastle Underline, so in Staffordshire, and tell us a little bit about your journey into the leagues.
Yeah, hiya. So I'm Fee. I'm the women's manager for the Newcastle Castlettes. So similar to Paviers, we had one game. Then we joined in a Warrior. We're in them for a year, and then we went up to NC3 this year. It has been not necessarily a jump. It's just a lot more games, which I'm sure will get covered later. We actually went with a player-led decision to join NC3. So we kind of had a team meeting. I obviously attended this meeting last year and then relayed everything, and the girls kind of made a decision off there. So we went very player-led into it, but I think so far it's been very helpful and very good for us as a club to be in a proper league and have that kind of competition element of things that we didn't necessarily get with in a Warrior.
Great. I'm just going to pick up on something you've said pretty immediately, Fee, if you don't mind. You said that it was a player-led decision. How important do you think that was for it being the right decision for you?
I think it was because it would have been easy for us as coaches and manager to say, we're not ready yet, we're not sure about this, let's stay in a Warrior, let's kind of be smaller fish, bigger fish in a smaller pond. But the girls were kind of wanting that element of competition. They wanted the kind of the harder matches, things like that. We were quite fortunate in that a lot of the teams that we had in our Inner Warrior League came up as well. So Stoke, Newport, ourselves, we were all in the same Inner Warrior League. We've all gone up to NC3 together. So it wasn't like completely treacherous waters. But yeah, the team said they could do it. We've backed them. We haven't had to cancel a game yet because of numbers or anything. We did stress commitment will still need to be high, and we're still working on recruitment as well. But I think having it player led also helps us not get a backlash for saying you've made it too hard because they put themselves in this position. So
Yeah, be careful
yeah,
what you wish for, right?
basically, yeah.
Brilliant. I'll come on to speaking to Tina and Sabrina in just one second. I've got a couple of slides to share. We run this because look, you don't know what you don't know, and if you've like Tina has said, Pavia's never had a women's team. They're all brand new to it. So being able to sort of come along to something like this and maybe have the questions asked that you think, oh gosh, is that a silly question? Does everybody know this? There are no silly questions when it comes to seeking understanding, especially going into a league, because it's a big decision, but it can be the making of a team. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a background. The objective of tonight is, as it says, I'll let you have a little read. I really want to stress we are not here at all to persuade you to join the leagues. Our responsibility is to well, not educate, to inform you and give you all the information that you need as clubs to decide what the best way forward for you is. And there's still no guarantees, and it's still a little bit of a leap of faith. But if you come out of this knowing slightly more, to be able to go back to, as Fia said, to your players and say, look, this is the reality of what it's going to be like going into the leagues, as much as we can tell you. And then you get them to sign up for it, then you're not going into that unknown. Sabrina will absolutely outline some of the key regulations of what you need to be looking at, what you absolutely need in your locker before you even start to think about it. And then, yeah, Fee and Tina are going to be providing the answers to the questions that hopefully Kirsten will pop in to just give you the confidence to say, yes, it's the right step, or give you that safety in the knowledge that, you know what, we're going to carry on playing friendlies next year, or we're going to have a look and see what Inner Warrior series is, or we're going to stay with Inner Warrior. So that's the objective for tonight within this next hour. If you're not aware, this is the league structure. We've got the Inner Warrior sits outside of the league structure. That's why there's that sort of grey band in the middle. But you'll see that it's at the bottom because it is the strength that holds up all of the leagues. It gives the teams the opportunity to cut their teeth, to retain those players that they've newly recruited, to try and ensure that we've got playing opportunities that are safe and a fun, positive experience for people who don't quite know whether they want to commit to more weekends than than 5 or 6, to be able to try it out. So then you go into, we've got National Challenge 3. So when we talk NC3, that's what we mean. That's the entry, one of the entry points. We've got National Challenge 2. If you've gone really great guns, we don't suggest that you would go in at National Challenge 2. And then you've got National Challenge 1, Championship 2, Championship 1, and then the PWR at the top. So it's a very simple pyramid. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to launch a poll. So, Alex, can I
Yeah.
go to you?
Yeah, the poll
to
is should
launch
be
that.
with you now, and I can see people have jumped straight in. So what we're
Amazing.
looking for here is, what are your current thoughts for next season? What are your plans for your current non-league women's team for 26-27? And there's no right or wrong answer here. This is just what you're thinking currently. You're thinking that Inner Warrior series, we're going to stick there. Oh, is it national leagues? Or you're still unsure and, want to hear a bit more this evening or see how the season goes. So I can see the majority of people have managed to complete the poll. I'm just going to give it a last little chance if you see that there. So, yeah, tell us what you... So I'm going to end that poll and I'll share the results with you So, Claire, what we're looking at here is there is sort of 57% that are looking for that national leagues, and
Okay.
then quite a few that are unsure. So
Hmm.
hopefully when this will help them this evening think about what might be best for them, and some that, really thinking in a Warrior series is right for them.
Fantastic. That's great.
Okay,
Thanks ever
over
so
to you.
much. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I think it is that unsure group that we're absolutely here for to help you to make those decisions going forward. I'm gonna stop sharing now because we don't need to see any more of the screens. There we go. So yeah, we've got those on shore. We want to be able to inform you so you can make those decisions. Those who've said yes, we're definitely going to be going in to the national leagues. We want to reaffirm what it is that you're thinking, or maybe once you've heard it, you go, do you know what? I don't know whether we are ready. That's what this is for. And the same for the Inner Warrior series when you've said, yes, we are going to be in a Warrior series, but actually you hear this and you go, do you know what? I think we're ready. And it does give you plenty of time. We've brought this really early this year so that you can have these discussions, you can have a look at the things that you need to have in place before the entries open. Alex, I just wonder whether I think Sabrina's having problems answering some of the stuff in the chat, and seeing as she is the oracle, it would be really good to have her being able to answer. I don't know whether you can fix that, but if not, we can Sabrina just drop in and raise some questions, and we can do some question and answers around that.
Yeah,
Is there
so sorry,
anything in
Claire.
there particular? Yeah, go for
I
it.
am replying to people's emails. It's just that people's messages, I can't
Yeah.
just reply to them on their own though. So it's
Oh, I
just going
see.
into the chat. So you will
Okay.
have to scroll down to find the answer to your bit. Sorry.
Okay, no, great stuff. So, Sabrina, I'm going to come straight into you. What is the sort of, we did this over the last couple of seasons. What are the minimum operating standards that you need, that you would like to see when an entry comes in, when it's open? What are you looking for that is a non-negotiable? What does a club need to demonstrate that they have before we'll allow them into the leagues?
A willingness to be kind and to play rugby. Like, just it's all about the playing the game. It's not about getting points on each other. It's about getting games on, and making sure that everyone has a great experience. Especially at NC2, NC3, it shouldn't be that they've not got enough, so we're not playing them. You know, club registered players at NC2 and NC3 can be borrowed between teams. There's no limit on the number of those that you can have within your team either. So they can be registered at more than one club. So please network with your local teams, share players, get games on. You can play with a minimum of 10, and you can adapt the rules as well at NC3. You need to agree those rules with your opposition at NC2 and NC3, but please do consider it so that we get games played regularly on Sundays, because at the end of the day, that's all we need, and that's all
Yeah.
everybody wants.
Yeah. So picking up on that, whilst we can allow people to go, do you know what, we haven't got a full team this week, you're not going to get punished for it. The message that we're trying to give is that you need to be going into the leagues fully expecting to be able to play 15 aside on a good weekend, aren't we? It's not, well, we can just about scrape 12 and we can borrow a few, so we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
What's your experience in that?
Yeah, ideally you need to have between 25 and 30 players to survive a season. Yes, you can borrow. Yes, we do know that life gets in the way and children get sick or people get pregnant or people move on and things like that. I said, so we completely understand that, in holidays and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, if you can aim for 25 to 30 players, that's a really good starting point for the season.
Yeah.
If you've got 20 players, then consider going in, but consider making friends with local teams to make sure that you can go through.
Yeah. Okay, that's great stuff. Fee, I'm going to come to you. What have you found from a player number perspective that you've sort of needed to draw upon for this season that you've just had?
Yeah, so when we went to the girls and said, look, NC3 is an option, we did really hammer home that it'll have to be commitment based. We need the players, we need to be able to field these teams. We pre-Christmas, we had about, I want to say 4 fixtures maybe, including cup match. We have been a bit thin on the ground for numbers. We've been going with 15, but obviously injuries happen in the game. People get tired, need a rest, whatever. So it's been a lot of approaching the other team and going, will you match? We have had a few instances where they don't match, but we'll just play with the numbers we have. We accept that they won't match and we'll just keep playing our game. Oh,
Sorry,
Go
Fee,
on.
don't accept that. They must match.
interesting. I might email you about that then.
Yeah, email me about that because
Because we've had quite, and yeah, okay. Ignore me then. They
No,
should
no.
but actually we had a game yesterday where we actually had subs and my mind was doing flips on the sideline trying to figure them out, but it actually made for a much more enjoyable experience for the girls because they knew they could come off if they needed to. I think it does make it a safer game as well because people aren't putting themselves through too much trying to get to that 80-minute mark and knowing there's not an option. So definitely having the numbers is a very good barrier to have in place before you enter, just so you're looking after your players the best you can. We have been able to borrow from Keele University staff, so a lot of them register with us because they get free membership as well. So I don't know if other clubs look into that, but we offer free membership for students so that they have the incentive to play, but not the price tag associated with it. And yeah, I only found out about NC2 can borrow, or we can borrow from them recently, but we will be looking into it. We have been reaching out to other teams about that as well, but they all fall on the same day at the minute. So
Yeah. And so how many players do you pull from? What's your pool of players registered that you've got at the club?
I think at the club at the minute, I think we have about 40
Yeah.
by 40. So we do have a lot.
Yeah.
We were kind of hit hard at the start of the season with a couple of big injuries.
Mm.
And obviously in the winter nights when it's cold and miserable, people aren't wanting to come down and train.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of a struggle, but I'm hopefully now that the days are getting longer, we'll get a few more down. And that's where we're
Yeah.
trying to kind of get pre-season going and obviously in the summer. I'm really, from a women's side, trying to get our name on the club as well. So it was a very male dominated club. I think Tina said obviously Paviers were the first women's team. We had a women's team and then they went away and we're back. So really getting integrated with the club as well and having the support from the men's team, massive help and massive support, having them cheer us on, come to our games. They drive to Stoke, Newport, all over. So yeah, getting the club integration as well and the club support is really important.
Okay, that's great. And Tina, from your point of view, again, what sort of squad are you pulling from to be able to get 15 aside out, if you are able to get 15 aside out each week?
Yeah, we've only had one game where we didn't have 15. And if you're turning up at a game playing someone in NC to NC3, I think we had 12 in the end by the time everyone dropped out in the morning. And we've got 35 on the books. So we have got 35 players, but we again have got, as I say, homegrown children, girls that are ladies now that are going to uni. So they're away, so they come back. They don't come back all the time, but they do come back and play the odd game here and there. But we've got quite a good. It's your away games you struggle more for.
Yeah.
Everyone will play a home game, an away game, your numbers go down. But it's like we say, it's family commitments.
Mm.
And when you've got youngsters, they play on a Sunday. They're at Little Ruggers in the morning, and it's harder for them to get there. And we've got a couple of ladies who've got younger boys who play, and if one's at Matlock and we're at somewhere else, she's got no chance because she's a single parent. So family life does take hold sometimes.
Yeah. And I think that's where then, if you have a larger squad, you can be mindful of that, can't you? And as long as people are communicating with you, then it does take 35, 40 to make sure that you've got different teams out each week. Sabrina, going back to that, because we both sort of went, oh, hang on a minute. Talk about those matching numbers. What is the rule or the regulation? What is it that a team can go to another side and say, we've got 12, you must match numbers. Where can that be found? What's it?
So that's in Regulation 6. So
Okay.
it's only available for NC2 and NC3. NC1 and above, they can play with players down and they don't have to match. But at NC2 and NC3, they must match numbers. They can't not.
Okay. So that's the.
Sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry at all. We do have the odd occasion where people refuse to do it, and then it's a clear breach of regulation, and then they'll get a slap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
See, but that's why this is so important, because not knowing, and not, you know, that we've got lots of regulations. We have to have a lot of regulations to be able to
Yeah.
govern our games safely. But as Sabrina's already mentioned, Regulation 6. Kirsten, have you got the link to pop in the chat for Regulation 6? So we'll send some bits and pieces out anyway, but I know
Yeah.
Kirsten's popping that in the chat. And it's worth having some of the key elements of the regulations that need to be stuck by, like that, matching numbers and uncontested scrums. Print it off, have it in your bag or have it
Yeah.
on your phone so that you can show people and say, look, I'm not messing on. This is what the deal is. And maybe even talk about it and communicate pre the game if you think that that's going to be a possibility.
Yeah.
And then if you've got any queries, then come to Sabrina.
So we try and send out educational emails along the way to try and help with that.
Yeah.
Especially at the beginning of the season, as new people come in, changing of team managers and things like that. So we are here to help you. We don't want people to breach. We don't want people to get into trouble.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of extra work and I don't need it. I'm quite young. So we will try our best to help you not breach regulations. The difficulty we have sometimes as well is that referees will sometimes put their two penneth in, and sometimes their two penneth is not correct. But that's because they are refereeing multiple games on a weekend at different levels of the game. So it's not for them to understand your regulations, it's for you to understand them. We always find that it's helpful if you send an email before the match to just agree certain points and to point it out to say, right, we're kicking off at this time, it's this pitch, we wear this colour. As per our regs, if our numbers drop, this is what's going to happen. So you've got it nice and clear, it's all set out. And the opposition then can question anything. And then anything they do question, you can always come back to us and we can reaffirm it for you. There's no issue in that whatsoever.
Yeah.
You do also have some coaches who've been in the game for a long time and they remember other regulations because things change each year. And depending on what level you're playing at as well, it varies. So again, anything like that, quick buzz over. We don't work on the weekends, but if you email me before 5 o'clock on a Friday, I will no doubt get back to you. Okay.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Sabrina.
But it is about that proactivity, isn't it? We'd much rather help somebody be able to play the game in a positive way and get as many women as we can out on the pitch rather than for just one slight misunderstanding or the lack of communication beforehand, 20 or 30 women not be able to play a game of rugby because that's not what we want. Kirsten, I'm going to come to you. What's the chat
Yeah,
like?
I was
Got-
waiting patiently to interrupt you at some point, Bram. Sorry. So I think Sabrina and I have managed to answer quite a few questions coming through, but there's been a
Yeah.
few since Sabrina's been chatting. So players, just to clarify, players should be registered with clubs they wish to support as well as their own club, Sabrina?
Yeah, that's right. And they can only be registered two at a time. But what can happen is that they can remove themselves from one and then add another. So if they're playing for they have a home club, but then they want to play for a different club at the weekend, and then the week after they want to play for another one, you deregister from one and then register at the other. It's a simple process. Also at NC2 and NC3, you have until the following Tuesday to get yourself registered. So you don't have to be registered for the game. So say you contact someone on the day or someone gets in touch with you and said, actually, I can play for you this weekend. As long as it's done by 12 noon on the Tuesday after the game, you're good to go, and then you add them to your match card. So they can play for multiple teams in a season.
Cool.
And there's no restriction on the number of teams at NC2 and NC3 as long as they stay club registered.
Not RFU registered, so it's that club registration. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
There has been a question around that if you don't have enough numbers, is it best to borrow players or set up like a bar style kind of cluster team, which I think Sabrina answered earlier that is a bit of a nightmare in terms of registration. So I think our general advice would be that you borrow rather than try and set up a clustered team. Am I right?
Don't permit clustered teams into the leagues.
Yeah. I think that was my way of trying to say that nicely. But well done, Sabrina. Do games need to be on Sundays?
No, you can mutually agree to change the dates. It must be mutual agreement. But you can play on a Friday night, you can play on a Saturday, you can play on a Sunday, as long as everyone's good to go and you've got a referee, off you go. I think there's a lot about kickoff times as well. So there's flexibility around the women's game. In regulation, it does say kickoff times must be between 2 and 3 o'clock. But if you and your opposition are happy to kick off at 12:30, then kick off at 12:30. Like I say, just be kind, just work it out and get it on. And we're good to go.
Fab.
Brilliant.
Uncontested scrums at NC3?
They are allowed. You should try and aim for contested. But again, you need to, because that's part of the game on principles, you would need to agree that in advance with your opposition. If it's the only way that you can get the game on, there is a rule called the player off rule. So you would have to play with one person down, but you wouldn't forfeit the game.
Okay.
And then finally, when borrowing players, is there a restriction on what level you can borrow from? I.e., can an NC1 player dual register for an NC3 team with a dual registration?
No. So a dual registration is only between clubs at NC2 and NC3. If you had a player, I think Pavey has mentioned it earlier, that's gone off to university, and so you're at home, you're an NC2, NC3 club, they can actually upload their student IDs, and then say an NC1 club wants them near their university, they can request a student pass, which would then allow them to do that, play for those multiple teams at different levels. But as soon as a person is RFU registered, they can no longer play for NC2, NC3.
Fabulous. Great. Thanks for that, Kirsten. I'll come back to you in a little while. And
sorry,
so,
Claire.
yeah.
Yes, you can play NC3 matches under floodlights.
Excellent, which helps at this time of year, no doubt.
Yeah.
Super. So all these little things, you see, it's really, really useful to know. So coming back, Tina, let's go with you. How did you know that you were ready? What was the sort of the conversation? What did you feel was actually we've hit this point, so now we're ready to go into the leagues? What was that trigger?
It was the same as Fiona was saying, Newcastle. We were in the same games with them, and we could see the whole group of us that were in that cluster have all moved up to NC3. It was just the competitiveness and seeing, because we had so many ladies that had come back and could play the sport, we felt as a team, we all sat down, I think it was at the end of season party, to actually ask the decision, what do you want to do, everyone? Are you committed? Because like we say, there's more games. That was the biggest thing, because you've all got families, you know when the games are. We were stickler for the rules. We went through everything. So it was like, we have got the options. We can move games as long as we all agree, and the opposition agree, and everyone's happy. But yeah, everyone was just happy to move up. We were ready. We felt we were ready for that next step. And it was the right decision to make. But we made it as a team, the same as we didn't. There wasn't a coach's decision to say. They just give us advice, and then we went from there.
Great stuff. And I think, Fee, you've already said that was the same for you. What would you say has been the best thing about moving from Inner Warrior Series or friendly games into the women's league structure?
I think it's the consistency of the games. So in a Warrior, we would often have it as like a triangular fixture. So it was like 40 minutes on, 40 minutes off, 40 minutes on again. And it was obviously against a different team each time. Whereas this time we know, right, we're going to face Stafford, for example. We know where we're going, we know kickoff, we know it's a lot more not turning up and going, oh, are we playing first, are we second, are we third, like what's going on? So it gave the girls a lot more consistency, and also obviously we know the matches far in advance, people can plan. One of the girls meant to go away this weekend, she didn't, so she could play for us yesterday. So because it's a lot more kind of set, not in stone, but kind of etched in stone, when they are who you're playing, who's hosting, etc. I think that kind of gave a structure that we didn't necessarily have as much with Inner Warrior.
Yeah. Okay. And Tina, the same question to you. What's been the best bit about moving up into the leagues?
Well, we found in Inner Warrior, like you were saying about the triangle, where it was 3 teams, we stopped doing that quite earlier on, and then we had the agreement where we were playing just one team, so we were playing a full game. And the best thing we've done moving up is just it's having that, like we say, the competitiveness of the different teams, and seeing what levels we're at and where we're going. But it just seems the right fit.
Okay. And then if I go the other way, I'll stay with you, Tina. What's the thing that you maybe wished you'd known? Is there anything that you sort of looking back now, you go, do you know what? If I'd have known that before we went in, we would have been able to manage it slightly better, or it was a bit of a surprise.
And the only bit of a surprise that's hit us is when you do your competitions. You know, you have your cup games, your NLD game, and the Community Cup, and you end up with a
Right.
team from NC2. Um, and I know the team we played from NC2 who knocked us out. Actually, it was a great game, fantastic game, but they didn't know the rules, so we dropped a player, and they were refusing to drop a player, and the ref agreed with them. And it was only because our manager had the screenshot of the regulations on his phone, and when it was the next breakdown, he was straight on with it and said, "No, you've got to do it." Because the opposition's reason was, well, if you, because we had to go uncontested by half time because they were just knocking us over. It was dangerous, but the ref wouldn't stop. The ref was basically saying, if you've got a front row, you can carry on. I mean, just like
Right.
we can't sustain this any longer.
Mm.
And they said, well, if you put a front row back on, we'll drop a player. But it was luckily our manager had it, and he's like, no, this is
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Okay, so that was sort of around the cup stuff where there's a potential that you might, and that is something that you can be a part of outside of the leagues, and you
Mm.
don't have to be a part of if you're in the leagues. So,
Yeah.
but it is all that part of that journey and progression, isn't it, Tina? So,
Yeah, but it's
yeah,
nice to see what you're up against, and if the leagues are higher, where you're standing and
yeah,
where, you know, and then because we record our games, watching it back to see where the strengths are, what we did well, what we could do even better to see the
hmm,
progression further along the line, maybe.
yeah, brilliant. And Fee, for you, what going into the leagues, what is it that you sort of thought that might have helped to know that?
I don't think there was anything massive. It's more kind of things come up mid-game that you're like, I don't know the answer to that. So I remember I emailed Sabrina once about subs and how many sub changes can we be made and things like that. And it is information that does get sent out, but it is a lot of information.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I mean, obviously mid-game, like the ref will normally know, well, tries and knows or tries to tell you. And yeah, so I was kind of on the sidelines scrolling, going, how many subs can we have? So yeah, it's just kind of it is a jump. I'd say because we kind of went up with teams that we knew, it was more of a jump to the rules for like myself as manager and coaches as opposed to players because they were playing similar teams. So I think the
yeah.
jump in the rules and the kind of regulations was the hardest part as opposed to like the actual game itself.
The game, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
the stuff around it. So
Yeah.
Sabrina, coming to you, what are some of the really important things that people just need to have in their locker from an administrational point of view before, during, and after games that if they get it nailed now will really help that transition?
Um, Understanding the regulations that are applicable to your game and the laws of the game. Um, the player registration module and how to do that. Kind of have a good play around with GMS. And have the right kind of roles and responsibilities on GMS so that you can access the match cards and things. And in the Inner Warrior series as well, you can have a bit of a play with those, set them up, use them if your league is using them. I think that's from an administration side. I think that's pretty much what you need to know.
Yeah.
And I would say have our email address so you can just quickly buzz us over to ask for questions and things. And I think that's from my point of view. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I think we're not going to get fed up of saying this, Sabrina, is that actually we're here to help those games get played. So
Mhm.
the earlier that they can contact you when you are at your desk to ask those questions, the more that we want to help because then it's stopping a reactive issue by helping proactively.
Yeah.
Super.
Um,
Okay.
Russell's just asking a question about
Yeah.
NC1 teams. So if you've got an NC1 club team that's got some newer players, when you register them, keep them club registered unless you know they're going to play for the NC1 team. Keep them as club registered, and then they can be club registered elsewhere. It's only if you lift it to an RFU registration, it will stop them from being club registered. If they do get club registered, then yes, you can loan them back to an NC2 or an NC3 team. Well, yeah, because you can only loan an RFU registered player, so they can be loaned back. But that NC2, NC3 team could only play 3 loaned players in a game. Can't like loan a whole bunch of them from an NC1 team.
Okay. Are there any other questions that you've got your eye on there, Sabrina, while you're on?
There was one about under 18s, which I've
Go for
answered.
it. Oh yeah, I would
That,
share that.
yeah, that is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of clubs have under 18s teams or have a couple of girls and not enough for a full team. So there is a kind of perception that as soon as they turn 17, it's okay, we can just get them into the adult game. We would advise strongly against it. They should ideally be playing age grade rugby at under 18s. You can have clustered teams at under 18s. They can go and play for other clubs, but still be registered with you. If they are fit and able and mentally ready to take part in the women's game, there is a process, a playing up process, which is twofold. So, one, the club needs to get approval. So, all of the coaches need to be DBS checked, have the correct qualifications. You need to have done all your safeguarding. All of that needs to be in place. Your county will then approve or reject that application. If it's approved, you can then start to apply for individual player approval. The player needs to be assessed if they're physically capable, mentally ready, and will thrive in the adult game. That assessment must be done by a level 2 qualified coach. So they should have the IRCA qualification, England Rugby Coaching Award. You would then submit that to your county, who would then agree or disagree and approve or not approve. The player then needs to be registered as an adult. If they are a first year under 18 who is just turning 17, we would definitely advise that they do not take part in the adult game. If they are a second year under 18, so these are 17 turning 18, then yes, please do look at whether or not it's the right thing to do for that individual player, not for your club, so that you've got more players. Is it the right thing for that player to move into the adult game? If they are in the PDG, which is the player development group, it is more difficult to get those players approved because they are playing a lot more rugby, and they are on the kind of elite pathway journey. You would have a different process to follow for them, and it's not the county that approves those. It is actually England Rugby that will approve them to play for you or not. It's really, really important that we stipulate that it's got to be the right thing for that player to take part in that game. It cannot just be about you fielding 15 players. That's, I can't stress that enough.
I know.
Just to add to that, Sabrina, sorry, Bram, there's a question in the chat that it says, can they still then go and play age grade?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can continue to play age grade rugby and play in the adult game. Something else just popped into my head then about it, but it's gone. But it might come back to me in a minute.
Okay. We know that under 18s is tricky. We're trying to do lots and lots of stuff around the regionals. I've sort of tried. I'm Kickstarter in the Midlands. We're looking at kickstarting we have an under 18s in a Warrior series, which is just bringing lots of under 18s together at one place to be able to play in a fixture. So that's very much in its infancy. So we are aware the struggles from an under 18s point of view, both boys and girls. They've got so much going on. But yeah, please, from Sabrina's point of view, it's about that player as opposed to sort of making sure that we're able to pad out a team. Kirsten, coming back to you, are there any? Oh, sorry, Sabrina.
I just remembered the thing. So if they turn 18 in the season, then you can register them as adults and they don't need to go through that approval process. If they are a regular community player, if they are a PDG player, you have to still do it even if they're 18.
Okay, so once they turn 18, they're automatically now an adult and you can register them unless they're going on that PDG, and you will still need to ask for that. Okay, that's clear. Thanks so much. Kirsten, are there any other sort of questions that have popped up, any themes or anything at the moment?
No, Sabrina has answered everything. There was a question around laws played at NC3, but Sabrina's answered that. This is your under 19 law variations, but NC2 is played at full adult laws. Refs are appointed through Who's the Ref, but I think we have caught up and clarified everything.
Amazing, thank you. Just a little note on refs. I don't want to, it might be going down a bit of a wormhole, but Tina, from an Notts, Links and Derbyshire perspective and connecting with the society, what have been some things that you might have learned in order to make sure that you are confident that you're going to get a ref? And we know that they should be appointed, but refs are available when they're available, and they tend to be more available on Saturdays than they do on Sundays. So, are there any tricks and tips that you've come across to help that process of getting a good ref on a Sunday afternoon?
And we're quite fortunate because
Mm,
one of the refereeing sort of groups are based from the club. So we always have a referee. But what we
okay.
have found is, as even with the men's game and the boys' game, there are a lot more new referees. We've had a
Oh, that's
lot
good.
more new. And we had a gentleman do our last home match, and he was just first game, said to us on the pitch, look, it is my first game. I'm going to make mistakes, which they always say. And but he was really good. But he had a mentor on the side, so at half time he'd get details. And then actually seen him again on Sunday. He was doing another game for us. But we've been lucky with refs. We've always had one, and if we don't get an NLD ref, there is refs within the club.
Yeah.
So
And
we have been
it,
lucky.
it's worth saying that that is allowed. We have a brand new course. So the England Rugby Referee Award, which was 2 days, and the Intro to Refereeing that was 3 hours, has kind of they've gone, and we've got a 1 day ready to referee brand new course this season. And once you've done that, you're good to go from a refereeing perspective. And yeah, we're sort of there's lots of refs out there that do need to cut their teeth. And again, as Sabrina has said, be kind, and then you know that you're going to get them back because they will be able to choose. Yes, please, I'd like to go there. Fee,
Highly
what's
recommend.
been? Oh,
Sorry,
sorry,
okay.
Sabrina.
Highly recommend a referee goodie bag. Highly recommend a referee goodie bag. Bottle of
Tell
water,
us
bottle of
more.
Lucasade. Yeah, bottle of water, bottle of Lucasade, Mars bar, orange. Good to go.
Will
Yeah,
And a
that
little,
and
sway it?
yeah.
not so that you win, Tina.
Write
So
that
Well,
in
they
the good books before you start.
yeah,
I wholeheartedly agree with that. You know,
yeah,
referees, they travel on their own to a game. If you make them welcome, they will always look forward to coming back to your club. And they're the ones that have the power to choose by clicking a yes, I'd like to take that match, or no, I wouldn't. So the more friendly, helpful, communicative, the better experience that you can give that person who's also giving up their time on a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon to be
mm,
able to come along and play. I
yeah,
think, will help with
yeah.
that.
A quick text beforehand to say we play at this level and it's these laws. That always helps
Yeah,
them as well because again they're going from game to game to game. Like they could have
yeah,
refereed Colts in the morning, they could be
yeah,
refereeing, the men at whatever level yesterday, and yeah,
yeah.
so it's always good to just drop them a note.
Absolutely. And I think that just stems for everything. Communication. People who are involved in in a Warrior series in the Midlands get fed up of hearing me say this. Communication is key. If you know you're going to be struggling for numbers, tell people early doors so that they can, actually, we don't need you this week. So, you were coming back from Snowdon or where, I don't know why I picked that, but you don't need to do that, or you don't need to come back home from university, or the referee knows before they get there exactly what you're playing, and you both know that you're playing game on rules. So actually, when it comes to this, whenever it is that you're playing, everyone's there to enjoy it. There's a rapport that's already been built. It's so important to build these relationships. Um, Fee, anything from you about sort of referees and any tricks and tips about making sure that you've got one on a Sunday?
Yeah, this ties again to having the strong club connections because we have a fixture
Okay.
for the men and he does ours as well. So we've managed to kind of sidle in there and the refs kind of get sorted for us. We've only had one game this season that we didn't have an appointed ref for. I don't know if it's because it was rescheduled or something. Something went on.
Mm.
One of our coaches is a qualified ref, so he was going to do half. Then we were going to have one of their coaches or someone them qualified do half as well, just to make it as unbiased as possible. But then a spectator ended up doing it. They were qualified, but yeah. So yeah, we're really fortunate in that regard, and it's just a case of getting cozy with the club committee basically.
Yeah.
We did have it yesterday actually. We had a ref us. I think it's the second or third time he's refed us this season. So hopefully he likes us. He did tell us to call him by his first name at one point. We were like, we can't do that. It's It's sir, it's nothing else. You went, just come in, Mark. I'm like, "We can't." So yeah, I think just building that rapport with them and obviously teaching the team. Obviously, it's the principles of rugby, but teaching the team, go through the captain, and obviously when picking the captain, make sure they can talk to a ref as well.
Yeah, important.
And just kind of that side of things and just being open and communicating with them. Yeah, like we have a player in the front row who's quite sensitive to noises. So I'll tell the ref before the game, I'll just pull them aside and say, by the way, if they can't hear you or they don't necessarily register, they're not being rude. It's just because of this, and they appreciate it. And it hasn't actually come up as an issue, but they just have the heads up already. So
yeah,
with that player's permission as well to do that.
Yeah. And that's that proactive thing as well, isn't it? Proactive, asking questions of Sabrina, proactive, talking to your opposition, proactive in just being kind to the referee so that that kindness is paid back in return. It does pay sort of great dividends, I think, by doing all of these things. Sabrina, from your point of view, what is maybe, I don't know, one thing that you would absolutely say to clubs is your real nugget of wisdom? If they're going to take one thing away from this session tonight I'll put you on the spot now, to help with their decision making as to whether they're ready to go up into NC3, what's one thing that you would say?
Get your club and player buy-in. Your club's got to back you. And have that support, because obviously if they've got men's teams as well, they might be used to using electronic match cards and they'll be the ones you go to for help with registrations. There'll be somebody within your club that knows how to do these things, and they can be like a great source of information and help to get you started. I can't swear 'cause it's being recorded, but don't be daft. Like, don't be daft. Be kind to each other and just play rugby and have fun.
Yeah, and that's why we do this, isn't it? We have to have rules and regulations to keep people safe and to keep it fair. But ultimately, if there is flexibility if you look for it and you know how to use it properly and appropriately. And if it's early communication, then the opposition are more likely to be able to change things. And I think on that, changing the time and the day over the weekend, don't leave that till the last minute, because you've got to be considering the opposition and shift work, and they've got mums who've got kids in the early days, or they are coaching. So if you know that there's going to be a date where you're all off on a hen do, or you're going to Ascot, or I don't know, whatever it is that you're going to go and do, early doors, contact that team and say, would it be okay to change the day? I don't know whether I'm opening a can of worms, Sabrina, but if there was a weekend where it didn't work at all, what is there a process to be able to change it to a different weekend?
So if you can't fulfill a match that weekend, you must agree to a new date.
Yeah.
So you have to agree it with your opposition. If you don't agree it, then it would be a walkover. But what we say to you is, if you can agree, if you've got 10 players available to play, then a game goes ahead. And then what happens is you play it as a friendly, so you wouldn't lose any points. Your opposition would get the points for the walkover, but a game would still go ahead.
Great. So again, early communication and being kind, etc.
Yeah.
So
if your game gets postponed, then you don't agree a new date within 7 days. We just pick the next one for you.
And you've both got to be ready to go for it. So again, good understanding of that rule or regulation is key there. So from a process point of view of next steps, people have seen this Intro to Leagues webinar. When is the player registration? Sorry, is the league entry registration? Is it imminent? Around about what time? What's the process? And then once they've applied, then what happens to know which league and stuff they're going in?
Okay, so we open the entry process. I think it's early May. As soon as the season's over, basically, and we know who's won and lost and needs to be relegated or promoted, we open the out for new teams only, and teams who want to adjust their league positions. You're then invited. You have about a month to get that in. It all goes through a smart sheet form. We then put all the leagues together based on geography is the first thing, and how many teams are already in those leagues as we move people around. We may then contact some teams as well to ask them if they would like to be promoted. just so that we can fill spaces and keep the leagues quite locally based. Especially at NC2 and NC3, we're trying to reduce the amount of
Yeah.
travel that you're taking. Once those are completed, we will then send them out to everybody who's applied for entry, and everybody who was in the leagues the season before. There's then a consultation period of about 2 weeks, where you can come back to us and say, actually, I don't want to be in that league, it's too far for us, or actually, we think we might be better if we go in this league instead. We'll then review those based on everybody's comments, see if there's any changes we can make, see if, put the postcode in wrong, we've put you in completely the wrong place, and just make sure that everybody's happy. Sometimes we can make those changes and sometimes we can't, because some of the regulations are restricted on the number of leagues that we can have, number of teams within a league, and the number of teams that can be promoted and relegated. We have got some flexibility and we do try our best to get best fit, but sometimes it's just not possible. So we will give you that consultation period. Then once that's finished, we will then announce the leagues. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets a structured season, which basically tells you when you would be playing. And then the league fixtures are then released about July. So then you'll know in July from September what date you start and who you're playing. And then we'll send out the entries for the cup, and then it's up to you if you want to enter the cup, and then we go from there.
Great stuff. And it is worth saying, isn't it, that the flexibility is there because we know that there'll be a movement of a team that is in like the northeast of one area, and then somebody coming in that's in a southeast of another area. And actually, if we kept the league strict and stringent, we would have quite a lot of travel, wouldn't we? So the flexibility, although it means that nobody really knows what league you'll be in and how many teams, generally we like to try and stick with 8 teams as much as possible.
Yeah, so in
where we
the
can.
higher leagues, there'll be 10 teams as maximum.
Yeah.
And then in NC2 to NC3, we'll look between like 6 and 10.
Yeah.
It all depends on geography,
Yeah.
and how many teams we've got coming in and who's moving where. But yeah, we'll look between 6 and 10. So then you're getting like between 10 and 16 games a year.
Yeah. And obviously the amount of work that goes into this, I'm not just I did it years and years and years and years and years ago when we actually had when we had like physical maps printed out and put on the table in order to try and make sure that as many people are finding it as easy as possible to play a good amount of rugby. But as Sabrina says, we cannot please everybody, but it's not for the want of trying. So again, just exercising that bit of patience, and any communication that you do give is making a suggestion as opposed to a demand, because we've got to consider how many teams are in the leagues this season, Sabrina?
I think there was 348.
It's a lot of teams and you're thinking about relegation and some disappearing and some being promoted and then new teams coming in. There's a lot to juggle. It's very, very exciting, but it is very, very demanding to make sure that we have a good fit for as many people as possible. Before I sort of wrap up with Tina and Fee, so I'm going to ask you both to just have a think about your top tip that you would give clubs if they wanted to be thinking about entering the league. So have a think about it. I love your dog, Fee. It's very, very
I'm so
intently
sorry
listening.
she will not leave me alone.
Absolutely fine. This is so enthralling that even the dog is up for it. But so just have a think about that. Kirsten, just coming to you. Are there any other questions that we need to wrap up with?
Yes, please. As a club with only one ladies team who are currently in Inner Warrior, if we want to join NC3 and we've got the numbers, would there be any reason we wouldn't be allowed to enter?
Only if your local club developer and regional officers didn't think that you were ready.
I think it's worth saying you need to make sure that you're demonstrating. You may have 50 registered players, but if you haven't played a game, we don't know whether you're game ready. So I would say my advice is to be demonstrating that you can, whether it's through friendlies, whether it's through being part of the Inner Warrior series. Anytime you're taking part in Inner Warrior series, if you're regularly getting 15 players to an Inner Warrior series game, then there'd be absolutely no reason, you're good to go. So sorry for jumping in on that, Sabrina, but that's just some
That's right.
some thoughts from last time. Anything else, Kirsten?
If we went into the league and halfway through the season we lost players, which resulted in needing to go back down to the inner warrior, how easy would that be, slash, would that be allowed?
So yeah, that's totally fine. We do have a kind of walkover rule that if you give 4 walkovers which aren't played as friendlies, we would actually remove you from the league, and then we would suggest that you went back into the inner warrior. We do work with clubs. We don't want to see clubs disappearing. We don't want to see teams disappearing. So if you are struggling at any point in the season, we will be looking at results, looking at walkover rates, and then we will get in touch with you first before you make that decision to just say, do you need any help? What's happening? These are your options, and just kind of talk you through it. And like we say, the Inner Warrior series is kind of a revolving door with teams going in and out throughout the season. And like we say, if you find it too much of a struggle in NC2, NC3, then yes, you are more than welcome to go and rejoin your Inner Warrior series.
Yeah. I think it's worth saying at this moment, don't be going in thinking, oh, it's okay because we can come out. What you've got to also understand is the impact on the other teams. So if 2 teams decided to go up into an area where there was only 6 in that local geographic area, and then halfway through the season you both pulled out, that would leave 4 teams left with a not very large league program. So absolutely, we don't want to see anybody destroyed, and we don't want, and it's not a case of you will never play rugby in this world again. But it's not a sort of a caveat of, well, worst comes to the worst, if it doesn't matter, we can just nip back into Inner Warrior series. It's there, but again, it's sort of like a last ditch thing, isn't it, Sabrina? We would say for that. Anything else, Kirsten, before I pass over to Tina and
Nope.
Fee?
Nope, that's all good.
Amazing. Right, so before we do our final poll, so I'll just get Alex ready with that. Tina, bit of advice. What would be the thing that you would like to share with clubs today about going up or basically knowing whether they're ready and going into the leagues?
Yeah, if you feel you're ready and Inner Warriors sort of to that position where you want to be strong, want to play, NC3 is ready for you. But one thing I will say is the personal admin, your scorecard, everything else, it is a bit more than Inner Warriors. It's a bit more information that you can put on. All the emails have a separate folder. Email it has all the information in it. That's in that folder.
We're really struggling to hear you. We're sort of going in and
Are we
out.
still? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
says
it.
you're
Back on now. Are we still there? Yeah.
Yes. Give it a go again.
What's it say? Yeah, I just say, I've got a folder which keeps all the emails in. And at the beginning of the season, make sure you on the welcome for C3, because again, the PowerPoints that you send through and then that you email through after, again, has all the regulations, all the information. So you're not coming into a game thinking, what is that? What do I need? Have all the
Right.
information from the leagues. Make sure that's there. And that's it. It's the admin. It's about just go and enjoy it. If you feel you're ready, go for it.
Yeah, somebody reads those things.
Yeah. I think Tina said she was really a stickler for that kind of thing. I think that's a really good idea because we do share a lot of information, and it's not to blind you, it's not to scare you, it's to remind you that there are things there to help you be able to play. So if you can create a folder, or you like to print it off and stick it in a ring binder, save your links in your favorites or whatever. Regulation 6 and Regulation 13 are the best things to be looking at from an adult registration and a women's competitions point of view. So make sure that you don't have to know it off by heart, but at least know where it is so that you can and familiarize yourself with some of the bits and pieces on there before you take that step. Fee, coming to you.
Yeah, I think just you need the enthusiasm of the team. You need, like Sabrina said, you need the whole buy-in from the team and from the club. I don't think I'd have survived if I didn't have Robin helping me with all the fixtures and everything. So yeah, just the whole club buy-in, whole team buy-in. And then yeah, you can't really go wrong because then everyone's goal is to play, everyone's goal is recruitment, everyone's is the best for the team, the club. And yeah, just the communication, sharing things with the girls. as and when you know things and reading all the regulations.
Yay, Sabrina's loving this. Sabrina, anything from you as a top tip?
No, just have fun, be kind.
Have fun, have
So
fun and be
many
kind.
times. Yeah, don't be daft.
Don't be daft.
And then someone did ask when do the applications open. It's usually about April.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you will be hammered that if you're on this, it's because we've got in contact with you or you found the link through the CGU. You won't be able to avoid the fact that applications are open. So don't worry about missing that. If you're connected with your local competitions activator, and I suggest that you do, me and Kirsten are two of those, and then there's Kesha and Matt. Kesha looks after Southeast, and Matt looks after the North. You've got your club developers that you can be asking for support, who are local as well. We're all here to try and make sure that the wonderful game that we all love so much is just played, and everybody who wants to play it is able to and having fun. So we'll probably do a little bit of a follow-up with some links, etc. I know Kirsten, thank you, has put some in the chat. It's been really useful. And then I'm just going to hand over to Alex to finish off with the poll again. Oh, there we go.
Thank you very much, Claire. So, same question as earlier, but, has this session confirmed what you thought earlier? Have we seen any change? Are you still unsure and you still need to go back? That's absolutely fine. But let us know what you're currently thinking now after you've been through this session, managed to ask quite a lot of questions, get the answers. I can see people have jumped straight in. So last little bit of chance to tell us what you're thinking now. Get that in. Last little bit of chance to put that in. And I am going to close the poll now. So we have seen some changes in some thoughts, Claire, here. Obviously, National Leagues earlier was 57%. That's gone up to 68%. The one that really has gone down is unsure. We've gone from 26% to 15%, so checking out. And Inner Warrior was 17% before and is 18%, so pretty much the same there. But I think, obviously, from what I can see in the chat, a very useful evening for everyone involved.
Thanks ever so much, Alex. Yeah, I want to thank everybody. First of all, I'd really like to thank Tina and Fee for giving up their time and sharing their experiences. I think it's so important to have that real world experience. Everybody's experience will be slightly different, but just hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, that clubs, some top tips there. As ever, thanks to Kirsten for manning the chat and asking some questions and answering some questions as well, and the wonderful Sabrina, who is the oracle of everything and continues to be so. And there's nothing that she doesn't know about this. So if you have questions, do fire them at her, but just be patient. If everyone's firing them at her, then she might take a little bit of a while to respond. And thanks to Alex for hosting the event tonight as well. If you're still unsure, it doesn't matter. You've still got a little bit of time to make that decision. I think the key message that I've taken away is that it needs to be player led, because if the players aren't interested in the leagues or they're not interested in staying in a Warrior series, you've got to go with what they want to do. And then support by the coaches, club buy-in for help around administration. Make links with clubs who are already in NC3 and NC2 if they're local to you. Go and ask them, go and be curious, set up some really good relationships. And the final thing for me is communication is key. So I'd like to thank you very much for attending. This will be recorded and we will be putting it on the Club Support Hub on YouTube. So thanks ever so much for your time and enjoy the rest of your evening.